This week on Engage the Sage.
Hi everyone, I'm Don Saucier. Welcome to this week's episode of Engage the Sage. This week, I'm going to tell you about why I don't drop exam grades in my classes. As we've discussed on this channel before, exams and lots of other assignments are great ways to get your students an opportunity to demonstrate their learning. Many instructors have course policies that have their students drop their lowest exam grade of the semester in their class. If you're one of those instructors who drops exams, I'm not calling you out. I'm just saying that it's something that doesn't work in my class. So now I'm going to tell you why I don't drop exams in my classes. And if you're one of those instructors who does, I'm going to invite you to hear me out. One of the concerns about dropping exams in my classes is I worry that dropping exams is going to create some unnecessary complexity in my classes. It's been my experience, both as a student and as an instructor, that when the lowest exam grade is going to get dropped in that class, I never really knew what my grade was. This makes it a little bit harder for me to follow logistically as a student. It also makes it a little bit harder as a faculty member who's leading that class, who's also going to deal with all of these student confusions and questions about what their grade actually is. I want it to be clear to my students how they're doing. And I find that when we're dropping their lowest exam grade, it's not always clear. An additional complexity is that if you're going to drop the lowest exam grade, a lot of instructors will say that if you're going to miss an exam for whatever reason, then that's the grade that gets dropped. So this might be a situation, student needs to have surgery. They have surgery on the day of an exam, they can't be at the exam, so the instructor says that's great, don't worry about it, that's the exam grade will drop. The student, though, may say, well, that's not the exam grade I hope to drop because I know that information better, and I would like to have the opportunity to take all of the exams and then have my lowest one drop. So when students are given the situation of not being able to make up exams they miss and have that one being the automatic drop, this could actually invite conflict with students. This issue could also compound if a student had a legitimate reason to miss more than one of the exams. Beyond logistics, I have another issue with dropping exams in my class, and for me, I wonder if dropping that lowest exam grade sends the wrong message to students about the importance of their learning. If in my class I have 4 exams, and you can drop one of those 4 exams with the lowest grade, it potentially indicates to my students that a quarter of our material is not important. An extreme situation that it could occur, and I've seen this happen, is if people have 4 exams in a class, if students do well on the first 3, and then say, well, I'm going to drop my final exam, I've actually aware of situations where students did not even attend the last quarter of that class. Now, I hope that there are more ways to earn points than just exams, and this is a situation that would be, again, very extreme. But there is that possibility that students might be strategic, that if they do well very early on, there might not be a lot of motivation to really devote to learning the last section of the course, particularly when they're thinking about taking multiple final exams, completing a number of course projects. They may conserve some energy in your class because they can drop that exam. I think in my classes, I have a pretty streamlined assessment structure, and I want my students to lean in and be proud of their performances on each of those opportunities. I don't want them kind of thinking about, I'm going to try really hard on these so I don't even have to navigate those at all. I want them to approach each one of those as something they're excited about demonstrating their learning on. Now, some of you out there are yelling at your screen right now, and I get that. Right? You're saying dropping exams is a way to not penalize our students too much for having one bad day. I completely get that. I think there are other ways, though, to be empathetic in our course design beyond dropping exam grades. One of the things that I want us to think seriously about is having more frequent, lower stakes assessments than really big point heavy exams. If we're having more of these lower stakes assessments and a student has a bit of a bad day, it's not going to affect their grade as negatively, and it's going to average out what they're learning across those other assessments. It also then allows you to keep them all in and keep that message that all of the content learning is important, and I like that. Another thing to potentially consider instead of dropping exam grades is maybe don't have exams. One of the things, and we've talked about this before, I'm going to talk about it again, is maybe think about other assessment strategies that are going to be allowing your students to demonstrate their learning in really meaningful and personalized ways that don't carry with them the same anxiety that exams often produce. It sounds kind of simple, but it's true. If you want to avoid test anxiety, don't have tests. Some of the things to kind of think about instead of tests, or think about assignments that you would really like your students to complete. That are going to be exciting for you. I know that I'm rarely excited to grade an exam, but I'm often excited to see my students apply their learning in a project or a report or a public service announcement they've made for themselves or whatever. I get excited about those. I love to see those come in and to see all the meaningful, wonderful ways that my students can demonstrate their learning. They may not be as easy to do in a very large class, but it's something that I think focuses more on our students' assets than their deficits. And if you really need to use exams in your class, especially if it's a little on the smaller side, maybe have your students write and take their own exams. We call this Exams by You, and you should check out our video that we've just linked. Another option, if you're looking to kind of have some forgiveness or some grace for students who maybe had a bit of a bad day, maybe consider, rather than dropping exam scores, including extra credit. We're going to link you to our video where we talk about the value of extra credit. But in summary, I would rather incentivize my students for doing work than de-incentivizing the work they've already done. So my bottom line so far is I don't drop exams because dropping exams doesn't work for me. In your classes, if you drop exams and that works for you, that's great. Feel good about doing that. What I want you to do, though, is to think about some of the issues and concerns maybe that I've raised and make sure you take them into account when you're coming up with your course decisions. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your thoughts about dropping exams. I want to hear about your experiences, and I'd be really interested in your experiences both as a student and as an instructor. Thank you for watching this episode of Engage the Sage. Please like, subscribe, sign up for notifications, share us on social media, and we'll see you next time on Engage the Sage.